Language disclaimer. This review of Castlevania Season 3 on Netflix contains adult language and discussion of some adult themes that are sexual in nature. If this sort of stuff puts you off, you should probably go ahead and bail right now. If you're under the age of 18 and you would get, grounded or any of the other things that I always talk about in my language disclaimers, you should probably bail right now. Also, mild spoilers. Enjoy! What's up, y'all? Welcome to the Movie Quotes Jones review of Castlevania Season 3 on Netflix. So, Castlevania Seasons 1 and 2 came out before I started making YouTube videos. I don't have reviews of them for that reason. I am a pretty avid fan of the original trilogy of video games on the Nintendo, but I've honestly never played Symphony of the Night, which is the game that's almost always lauded as the best in the series. It was for PlayStation. But the original NES trilogy and especially Super Castlevania 4 are really, really great games. Yes, to all of you AVGN fans, Simon's Quest was a good game. They offer challenging gameplay, and by that what I mean is they're fucking hard. They have a cool premise and presentation, and probably the best music on the NES. The first season of Castlevania is based on the lore presented in Castlevania 3 Dracula's Curse and in the aforementioned Symphony of the Night. The first season sets Dracula up as basically a tragic villain out to gain revenge against the human race, particularly of the Catholic variety. For murdering his wife Lisa for witchcraft, she is shown burned at the stake. It's pretty graphic and terrifying. This is particularly tragic because Lisa spent considerable time working to make the powerful vampire sympathetic towards humanity, only to be murdered and have all of her efforts end up going up in smoke. Pun intended. We also get the three main protagonists introduced. These are Trevor Belmont, Sypha Belnades, I don't know how to say it, we're just going to call her Sypha from now on, and Alucard Tepes. And yes, it is pronounced Alucard, unless you call Dracula Dracula like an Aqua Teen Hunger Force, which you don't, then I think you should call him Alucard. It was a short season containing 4 episodes, but it did a nice job of establishing all the primary characters, their relationships, their motivations, and the impressive visual style of the show. The second season premiered the next year and contained more episodes, I think 8. Hang on, let me just check Wikipedia real quick. Yes, eight episodes. And they introduce more antagonistic characters, the most important of which were Carmilla and Isaac. The latter of which will do some really heavy lifting in the third season to be discussed shortly. The main issue that I take with the second season of Castlevania is that Dracula just kind of spends most of the season sitting around and pouting. However, the climactic fight between Dracula and Alucard was awesome. Another major issue of the second season was Hector, a devil forge master, and we'll talk more about that here later on. In spite of these two things, I genuinely enjoyed the second season. The chemistry and the teamwork between the main trio of protagonists was effective and believable, and the begrudging trust and eventual friendship between Trevor and Alucard stood in nice contrast to Dracula's self-imploding vampire council, full of backstabbers and usurpers. Also, the soundtrack actually includes Bloody Tears from the game series. Season 3, the topic of today's review, started out really strong, but in my opinion it got steadily worse as it went along. Series in their third season on Netflix tend to do this based on the ones that I have watched. Santa Clarita Diet, that's an impossibility because they canceled it. But another favorite of mine is Glow, and the same exact thing happened for practically the same reasons. Started strong and borderline face planted at the end. We'll talk about why later. Now, the main characters from the first 2 seasons are kind of scattered all over the place, resulting in parallel running plot lines unfolding instead of one focused narrative. Whatever. The show follows, with varying levels of success, Trevor and the Sypha, Isaac, Alucard, Hector, and Carmilla, kind of. We also get 4 new main characters: the seductive vampire Lenore, the strange magician Saint Germain, who spends a lot of time walking around talking to himself, and the Japanese Taka and Suri, who I will simply refer to as the Japanese from this point forward. Now, I'm not going to spend too much time talking in detail about the plot, because the series just dropped like on the 5th of this month. This is the 5th of March 2020. And it's still new enough that you might want to check it out. So we're going to go ahead and get right on to the world famous pros and cons lists. There are going to be some minor spoilers ahead, so stand warned. Sypha. She was always a cool character, but she had me basically wrapped around her little magical finger towards the end of the second season and has me absolutely smitten now. She is a total sweetheart, but she can bring some serious aggression when necessary. She can kick that ass. I think my only real complaint about Sypha is that she seems to be substantially more powerful in this season than in the last, almost to a fault. I found myself watching this and at least on one occasion saying to myself, okay, is there anything that she can't do? Aside from that, Sypha might be the best thing that this season has going for it, and she is probably the best character on any Netflix show that is running right now. If you've played Castlevania 3 Dracula's Curse, then you know how Trevor and Sypha end up. If not, this show makes it pretty easy to predict. However, their bond never feels forced. It never feels like they're slapping you upside the head with it. And they have legitimately good chemistry. She does a really nice job of kind of humanizing Trevor, at least towards the beginning of the season. And I really like watching their interactions. If I understand this correctly, and again, I'm going to check Wikipedia real quick here. Hang on. Yep, that's just what I thought. This show is hand-drawn. Hand-drawn. Now, scenes like this, the climactic fight scene from the end of the second season, look really damn good considering that. But the animators really dialed it up to 11 in this season. It just looks really wonderful. And the show is presented in this kind of cool anime style. In this season, there are no direct quotes from the games. And can I just digress here for a second? Why? Why not quote this? This. Or this. Shit, the second season straight up places Bloody Tears into its soundtrack in the final episode. Anyways, digression over. The music is still cool regardless of not borrowing faithfully from its source material. And some of the music strongly hints at the old school music, particularly in the final episode. Some of the plots are pretty cool from beginning to end. Without spoiling too much, these characters who you see on the screen now were satisfactorily presented and wrapped up in my opinion. Isaac's plot is particularly interesting. All right, let's move along to... Let's just jump right into the biggest piece of shit in this entire series, the 9th episode. Much like in another Netflix show that I mentioned earlier, Glow, the 9th episode of an otherwise pretty solid series nearly ruins everything with stupid, unnecessary sex shit. If you're sensitive to general depictions, PG-13 at worst, of sex acts, Skip ahead. Okay. The entire 9th episode switches between major plot climaxes, and it switches between Trevor and Sypha and Isaac, who find themselves in really cool, really visually stunning fight scenes, and Hector and Alucard, who find themselves in sexual situations. Now, Alucard ends up finding himself in a threesome with the Japanese. An MMF threesome. An no, F. Why? Why did Alucard Tepes need to be in a MMF threesome?
There are no words to describe the magnitude of this tragedy, ladies and gentlemen.
It contributed nothing to the plot. And just like all of the stupid sex bullshit in Man in the High Castle Season 3, and just like Glow Season 3 Episode 9, which contained, can you guess, an MMF threesome that contributed nothing to the plot.
Oh, Jesus! Oh, God! Oh!
Okay, I honestly feel like... Okay, hang on, I'm just going to take a little shot here. Hang on. Chase it with a beer. I honestly feel like the people who write scripts for Netflix original shows are contractually obligated to include a certain number of LGBTQ or sexually androgynous characters and stupid sex shit in each season by penalty of death, dismemberment, or worse yet, cancellation of their show. In Castlevania Season 3, we have the sexually androgynous... That's not right. Feminine. The feminine Taka, who looks more female than the actual female character. We have 2 lesbian vampires, Morana and Striga, and I guess a bisexual Alucard? I ask again, why? Now look, I am not in any way attacking the LGBTQ community, nor am I attacking any sex act that is undertaken by consenting adults. Rather, I am attacking shoehorning these items into an otherwise successful narrative to which it contributes nothing but distraction. This is why I'm not taking the piss out of the sex scene between Hector and Lenore. That one makes sense, and it's a pivotal part of Lenore's plan. Speaking of Hector and Lenore, I mentioned Hector earlier. He's an entirely unnecessary character. He doesn't really contribute too much on his introduction in the 2nd season. He does act as a tool for Carmilla to usurp Dracula and to help demonstrate her horrifying cruelty. He and Isaac are Death Forge masters. They are able to summon demons and place them into the recently deceased, who are then subject to their control. Carmilla sees this as a great asset to use in her consolidation of power after Dracula is killed. I have no idea where Hector got the fortitude to learn how to summon demons, because he's a complete moron and a total pussy. He's easily manipulated by Carmilla in Season 2, and he is even more easily manipulated by Lenore in Season 3. They tried to portray Lenore's relationship with Hector as some kind of a red herring, like maybe she's actually going to betray her vampire sisters and run away with Hector. And I honestly think that Netflix honestly thought that we would believe that. However, I knew what Lenore's endgame and what Hector's fate was going to be about 3 seconds after they first met.
You tricked me and made me your slave.
I did no such thing.
You made me a slave.
Yeah, dumbass, she did. Okay, Carmilla really stole the show in the 2nd season. Might have been my favorite character out of the 2nd season. She's really downplayed here. It reminds me of how the writers of Cobra Kai treated Miguel in its 2nd season. In Castlevania, Carmilla is slowly built up into this menacing, force to be reckoned with, dangerous fucking character, only to be all but ignored in the 3rd in favor of shifting the focus to Lenore's seduction of Hector. These were the worst characters of the season, far and away. They basically show up to provide Alucard a reason to stay in the show, seeking his help in defeat of an evil Japanese vampire that tortures and kills her human honor guard that she has for a reason that is explained in one sentence. They ask him to show them absolutely everything about how Castlevania is able to move and absolutely everything about his parents' magic right now. After seducing him into an MMF threesome, god damn it.
Oh, Jesus, God, oh!
They then grossly underestimate him as they whine about their plan to kill him because he didn't show them everything about how Castlevania is able to move and absolutely everything about his parents' magic right now. Whiny fucking Japanese crybabies. Thankfully, in spite of the threesome, Alucard is still able to think with the big head instead of the little head. And the Japanese meet a fate fitting of people who suck as hard as they do. Good riddance to bad rubbish. Well, I think that's about all I have to say about Castlevania Season 3. If you have watched the previous 2 seasons, I would definitely recommend you go ahead and check it out. If you're a fan of any of the games, particularly the OG ones, and you haven't seen the series at all, go ahead and get started. At the time of this recording, we're under quarantine for coronavirus anyway, so pop in some Castlevania when you finish your from-home work shift. Add me on Facebook, follow me on Twitter, and all that. Leave a comment below, etc. Thank you for watching. Peace out.